What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be discussing practice number 6 for the Packers. If you didn't have a chance to listen to the quick hits video, make sure and go back and listen to that. I'm going to be covering the 3 main topics really quick at the beginning here, including Jordan Love, Devondre Campbell, and Jair Alexander. But I went into great detail on all 3 of those topics in that video, so make sure to check that out really quick. But let's start right away with Jordan Love, who was I thought the player of practice. I thought he had his best day, certainly of this training camp and probably of any of the time that he's been in practice in Green Bay through the training camps. I thought he was super impressive for a variety of different reasons. First of all, responding from, I think, what was probably his worst practice of this season from the day before, especially a brutal 2-minute drill to end the session. The fact that he bounced back and had such a great day, I think, is a testament to his mental fortitude. I think the other thing is just his footwork and his confidence, I thought, was really on display as well. I thought his footwork in the pocket was really good. I thought he displayed confidence going through his progressions, going through his reads, and then not hesitating. And Matt LaFleur had talked about that in the past of just, finding your read and pulling the trigger and not overthinking it, right? I think we saw the best version of that yet from Jordan Love. Let's walk through some of the plays. The first play, which I thought was his best throw of camp so far, was on a deep crossing route to Sammy Watkins, who, again, he came back, got the footwork in place, went through his reads, went through his progression, hit Sammy Watkins in stride, who has the opportunity to run upfield a little bit before getting out of bounds. Well, that was Watkins' biggest play of training camp so far, and a really nice throw by Jordan Love. Just on the money, perfect placement, all of it. Beautiful, beautiful play. And then probably one of my favorite plays of the day too, which is, unfortunately it just falls incomplete. He had immediate pressure up in his face. I think it was on a blitz, if memory serves me correctly. And, he's about to get hit and he just kind of fades back and he sees Romeo Dobbs streaking to the right side. He throws the deep ball on the 9 route and he hits Dobbs. And unfortunately, Dobbs couldn't come up with it. It was a little bit of a, contested play. I think one Dobbs would probably like to have back, but Love put it exactly in the spot where Dobbs needed it to try to make a play on the ball. Once again, it was a contested situation, decent coverage on the play, but I thought it was a perfect ball considering he was under duress and under pressure and just had basically one place to go, and he gave his receiver a chance to come down with it. I thought that was a really nice play by Jordan Love. And then the other play of the day, very last play of the main practice. They practiced a little bit with the rookies and younger guys towards the end, but the last play of the main practice was a red zone drill. And Romeo Dobbs to the right side running a fade route against Rico Gafford, and Love put it back of the end zone, the only place where it could go, the only place where Dobbs had the chance to get it, and a place where only Dobbs could come down with it. Good coverage, contested coverage on the play by Gafford. They actually threw the penalty on Gafford for defensive pass interference as well, but Dobbs goes up, catches the ball, high points it, comes down with it, gets both feet down. Just a beautiful play between Jordan Love and Romeo Dobbs. Clearly the future connection of the Green Bay Packers. We shall see. It just could be. Who knows at this point. But either way, beautiful, beautiful ball, beautiful catch. It was, exactly what, when you draft Jordan Love, when you draft Romeo Dobbs, those are the sort of things that you're thinking that hopefully someday they'll be able to do. They displayed that in practice on Tuesday, and it was a really great connection between the two of them. Then I also had down in my notes, Love hits Samori Toure in stride. Love hits Dominique Daphne in stride. Love hits Alize Mack in stride. He was just hitting throw after throw after throw. And again, great footwork, great placement, great accuracy. The best, I think, that we've seen Jordan Love so far in his young career in Green Bay. Now, as Matt LaFleur mentioned when asked about Romeo Dobbs on the second day of practice, anyone can go and have one good day of practice. Can you stack it together? Can you do it day after day after day? That will be the big question for Jordan Love. Devondre Campbell also had a really big day, multiple stops. He had a stop on Daphne in the flat. He had multiple stops in the run game, but the big play for him was in zone coverage. He gets very deep in his drop, a play that was going, on a deep crossing route from Rodgers to Romeo Dobbs, and would have been completed against, I think, almost any linebacker in the league. but Devondre Campbell used every ounce of his instincts, read the play perfectly, used every ounce of his frame, used every ounce of his athleticism, and sailed in the sky and just got a fingertip on the ball to knock it away at the very last second. I guarantee you Rodgers thought when he saw that play develop that he thought he had a deep shot to Romeo Dobbs that was going to connect. Dobbs was just about to haul it in, and then Campbell made the diving play for the incompletion. It was a first-team All-Pro effort from Devondre Campbell, and one that just goes to show how talented of a football player he is. There are few, if any, linebackers who are making that play with any sort of consistency, not only to have the athleticism, the size, the range to be able to do that, but to read the play that perfectly and get that deep in your drop and then have that athleticism was really incredible. It was a really fun play to watch. I think one of the best plays of training camp so far. Campbell was all over the place all day long and was one of my players of the day for sure. Interestingly enough, Jair Alexander started practice, went through some of the individual drills, then didn't do one-on-ones, didn't do team, and then was in street clothes holding a football the remainder of the game. Now, thankfully, it was learned by, I believe, I want to say it was Tom Silverstein and Matt Schneidman, although there could have been others, that there was no injury related to Jair's absence. So it could have been some sort of day off-ish, although it's weird that he didn't just get the full day off. Mercedes Lewis had the full day off on the day and was in street clothes the entire time. So definitely will keep you posted if I hear anything of what happened with Jair. As of recording this, there had been no other reports. So hopefully it was just rest and that was it. And he'll be back on the remainder of practice with no concerns. But again, the reporting is that there were no injury issues, but there was no reporting as to what it actually was. But again, hopefully no issue for Jair, but at least worth mentioning and monitoring there. Speaking of injuries, as mentioned, Mercedes Lewis had a veteran rest day. Cole Schneider, who I mentioned yesterday, went out with the ankle injury. He was in a walking boot and was not participating in practice. Clearly, no returns from practice, which means there were 10 players out total. Lewis, Schneider, and then Watson, Crosby, Nixon, Bakhtiari, Kylan Hill, Elton Jenkins, Robert Tunyon, and Malik Taylor. So those were your Packers that were not practicing on Tuesday. One of the things that I tweeted out during practice is I said, put me down for a lead pipe lock that Danny Davis will make the practice squad this season. He has very much looked the part. I am very intrigued to see what he can do long-term with this team. I do think he has some slot receiver potential. He's very good with his routes. I think he has a little bit of wiggle after the catch. He's got very good hands. Just very much looks the part of an NFL wide receiver. Now, Malik Taylor is an NFL wide receiver, right? He has been over the last couple seasons on a 53-man roster. Saying that he's a 53-man receiver doesn't mean that he's going to be a number 2 wide receiver and catch 80 balls a year or anything like that, right? But I do think he has a NFL profile, and I do think that he could be a number 5 or number 6 receiver for some team down the line. The good news for the the bad news for Danny Davis is I don't think Green Bay has a spot on their roster right now for a Danny Davis. I think he's just going to have to be a practice squad guy. The bad news also for Danny Davis, but the good news for the Packers is I don't see him as being a player that is going to get claimed. He was a not exactly super sought after undrafted free agent, signs with the Packers for very minimal bonus money. And I think he's going to have by far and away a good enough camp where they're going to bring him back in the practice squad. Don't think any other team's going to sign him or claim him, I should say, off of waivers, which would mean that he would go back in all likelihood on the Packers practice squad. I think it's a great spot for Danny Davis. I think it's a great spot for the Packers. And he is definitely somebody that I'm going to, continue to keep my eye on as he develops, because he has, I think, well outperformed his undrafted free agent status. And like I said, lead pipe lock to me for the Packers practice squad. Unless for some reason he would decide to go to another team, which after learning an entire offense and getting to know the system and playing with these players, it just doesn't seem like that would be something that would behoove Danny Davis all that much. We've been talking quite a bit about Rico Gafford lately, and he's had a tremendous start to camp. I thought Tuesday was his toughest day. Got beat in, I believe, every single one-on-one in the corner versus wide receiver drills. To be fair, those drills massively benefit the offense. So don't take, don't take it too much that Gafford lost the one-on-ones, but he struggled in that session and then gave up the touchdown to Romeo Dobbs at the end of practice as well, and got called for pass interference on the play. So Gafford had been sticky in coverage up until Tuesday's practice. He had a tough day in practice on Tuesday. We will see if he can bounce back. Also had a tough rep trying to jam Vernon Scott on a play, and Scott just went right down the field, cruised by him, and was ready to take out the returner if need be. But Gafford will bounce back. He's had a really good practice and training camp so far. Just had a rough day on Tuesday, and I think he'll bounce back just fine on Wednesday. Another player who really struggled in the one-on-one sessions was Dalin Levitt. Dalin Levitt, I think, is going to make this team as a special teams player. I think he's basically going to, Rich Bisaccia his way onto a 53-man roster spot. If he has to play much safety, I think it's going to be bad news for Green Bay. I don't see the coverage ability there. I think he can come up a little bit and play sort of that box safety role. But to me, this is like an undersized linebacker. And even as a linebacker, I don't know that he would have the coverage chops that you would ideally be looking for. So I think his defense is going to leave a little bit to be desired. But I do think, his special teams prowess is what's going to get him on the roster. And I do think he's a favorite. Maybe favorite's a strong word, but I would say he's a betting favorite at this point to make the final 53 just based on his special teams ability. But in coverage, it's not the prettiest sight in the world. As mentioned before, Romeo Dobbs had a very big play, also had the bad play with the drop. I thought he was very, up and down on the day. So he absolutely annihilated Eric Stokes on a go route in one-on-ones. Like, it was a gorgeous route, and he got the ball in stride, took it for the touchdown on the play, was easily the most explosive play during one-on-ones, and he took it right to Eric Stokes on the play, had the final touchdown in the back of the end zone against Rico Gafford from Jordan Love, but also had that drop pass from Jordan Love earlier in the day, also missed fielding at 3 different punts on the day. So the special teams coaches have really been emphasizing to making sure the ball doesn't hit the ground. When the ball hits the ground, bad things happen, right? Usually either it checks back up and, they're downing the ball deep in your red zone, or it, rolls and rolls and rolls and it ends up being a longer punt, or even worse, it bounces and hits one of your own teammates and then the other team recovers and you've got a nightmare on your hands, right? So they've been really stressing to catch the ball. He didn't drop any. He didn't muff any. He just didn't catch cleanly 3 different punts and wasn't able to get to them, which is an issue. To be fair, Hyman had a muffed punt. There was another punt returner who is escaping my mind at the moment who had a muffed punt. It just wasn't a great day for the returners overall, either misfielding punts or dropping punts. That's something that they're going to have to continue to work on. Amari Rodgers, I don't remember if this was yesterday or the day before, but had a really nice punt return. Dobbs also did have a good punt return as well. So it's not all bad, but it was a tough day fielding punts on Tuesday overall. Yosh Nijman, John Runyon Jr., Josh Myers, Royce Newman, and Zach Tom were your starting offensive line. So Zach Tom did get some time at right tackle as the starter. So that will be something to keep an eye on. Tom has now played, I think every position in at some point this offseason. I'm positive he played guard. I'm positive he played center. I know he played left tackle. I know he played right tackle. He may have only played left guard or right guard, one or the other, and not the other one. I can't speak to that for sure, but either way, Zach Tom getting a ton of reps with the ones and with the twos, and we will see how he develops, but this is his first time getting reps with the ones at right tackle on Tuesday. I thought the defensive line and the defense as a whole did a really great job of run defense. Dean Lowry had a play in the backfield. Rashawn Gary had a play in the backfield. Reed had a play in the backfield. And then Jonathan Ford had a really flashy play where he was quick to get through the line and then had to stop probably 3 yards in the backfield as well. I thought that entire group did a really good job against the run. There were a couple plays where there were some holes in the Packers offense caught the defense off, kind of off guard a couple times, but overall, some of the individual efforts in run defense was really, really good. A couple other players that stood out. Isaiah McDuffie is a player who over the course of the last couple practices has played a lot faster and has had a bigger impact than I think he ever had a season ago. He never really looked comfortable as a rookie. These last couple practices, you can start seeing it click a little bit. I think he might end up being linebacker number 4 for the Packers. I think this is going to have a very clear pecking order by the end. I think it's going to be Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker, Chris Barnes, and Isaiah McDuffie. Maybe Ray Wilborn gets in that conversation as the 5th linebacker. I don't think Ty Summers or any of the other guys really have much of a chance, to be honest. But McDuffie maybe could push for 3. Maybe could shake out at the end a couple different ways, but I think Barnes and McDuffie are the leaders in the clubhouse for that number 3 and number 4 inside linebacker spot. McDuffie had a nice day of practice on Tuesday. Another player who had a nice day of practice, BJ Baylor. He had a really nice 6-yard run to the outside. That may not sound like much, but his vision and balance on the play were really, really good. And then he had another play where he set up the run really, really well and then bounced to the outside. Probably got 20-some yards on the play for one of the bigger runs so far in training camp. But more importantly, had 2 really good pass pro reps on blitz pickups that were very impressive. And, if you want to make a team, show that you have some pass protection chops. He showed that on Tuesday, but also combined a couple really nice runs in there as well. Speaking of a player who this isn't the same for BJ Baylor, but a player who did need a big day and finally got one was Jonathan Garvin. He's had a rough start, I think, to OTAs, mini camps, and training camps overall, but really nice day. Had 2 big stops on plays where he set the edge pretty aggressively and was able to make the stop or at least funnel things back inside. 2 plays like that really stood out. And also had a strip sack in the younger players period towards the end of practice on Danny Etling where he knocked the ball clean out of his hands. So really nice day for Jonathan Garvin. And like I said, he really needed to have a good day. Amari Rodgers had his best play of training camp with a really nice completion that he caught over the middle from Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers hit him right in stride. Amari was able to get behind the defense and make that play. It would have been between him and Darnell Savage in the secondary, and if Rodgers would have been able to make him miss, who knows, because it's not live tackling, he maybe would have had the opportunity to take it the distance. But that was one of the first really nice plays from Amari Rodgers. Kobe Jones, player we probably don't talk about too much, but he is an edge rusher. He had 2 pressures off of George Moore, who had, I thought, a rough day along the offensive line. But Kobe Jones, I think it was back-to-back pressures, getting right in the backfield. So that was a good sign for him. And then one of the other plays defensively of the day, Rashawn Gary coming through, just blasting, and I mean blasting through Yash Nijman and John Runyon Jr. on a double team. He split the double team and just overpowers both, gets through and explodes to the quarterback. I think would have been a pressure, not a sack on the play, but man, the way that he went through 2 legit starting offensive linemen was just a sight to behold. Rashawn Gary continued his impressive training camp, practice, etc. He's been an absolute beast. My 2 players of the day, Devondre Campbell and Jordan Love, I thought both were fantastic on Tuesday. Hopefully Jordan Love can continue to stack success in camp moving forward. Wednesday will be a closed session to the media. I will not be attending Wednesday's practice. I will still be breaking down all the news and notes from those that are, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. It is likely going to be a little bit more of a walkthrough practice. Also, I'm going to be having on a very special guest on tomorrow's episode, so make sure you are checking that out. That is going to do it for me today, but until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.